Just out for a wander amongst the trees, reflecting on life and what it means to live in this wild world today. You know, us humans are some pretty funny creatures. We spend countless hours of our lives creating these internal concepts and attachments to how we think we should live our lives, often dictated and shaped by the societies in which we live that mold and shape us into who we are in a way. I mean, think about it. Growing up in this patriarchal, capitalist Western society, you've probably ended up subconsciously creating a bunch of different ideas, assumptions, or goals to pursue based on what was modeled as successful to you in order to achieve that mythological American dream. Things like finishing school at a certain age, maybe getting a master's, getting a job, security, getting a dog, a partner, getting married by 30, buying a house with a white picket fence, a new car, having kids, etc. You know, these are all measures of what it means to live a happy, successful life by our society's standards, and there's a good chance that a few of you have fulfilled that idea, and yet many of us still struggle on a regular basis to pursue or achieve those things. It's a pressure that we all universally feel, and through social media and the world today, we seem to always be shown how we're not quite good enough, that we still don't fit the mold, and there's still so much more to do and achieve to be successful, to be happy. And at the same time, we actively shun or hide the rough parts of life, you know, the loss of a job or a loved one, a messy breakup or divorce, depression, midlife, core life crisis, the list goes on. We're taught by society that these are the things we should be ashamed of, embarrassed by, or things that aren't part of that normal, happy life. So we do all we can to hide them, ignore them, or not address them, when in reality, these hardships are very much a normal and natural part of life. In fact, it's what truly shapes us into who we are, and we can look to the world around us for advice, insight, and inspiration on what it takes to keep on keeping on. Let's take a look at all these trees, because trees, at least here in Cascadia, are everywhere. And right away, when you think of a tree or imagine a tree, what do you see? What are some of its characteristics? You're probably thinking of a nice, tall, straight conifer tree of some kind with elegant, luscious, triangular green boughs flowing symmetrically down to its big, thick trunk. Or maybe your go-to is a deciduous tree, a perfect little oak or maple with fluffy clusters of radiant leaves, either bright green or changing into hues of yellow, orange, and red. Either way, whatever you're thinking right now, you have an idea in your head about what a tree is supposed to look like, right? A model built by assumptions or things we've been taught to admire or consider a tree as this sort of quintessential tree characterized by a cute little emoticon that we see everywhere these days. Well, let's take a look around at the world around us, at reality. Take a look outside your window right now and see how many trees fit that idea in your head. How many perfect trees exist out there? In reality, there are actually quite few, if any at all. And instead, trees are much more wiggly, you know, with random branches sticking out, twists and turns, knots, and oddly shaped canopies. And the closer we start to look, the more we find that even the most perfect trees have their oddities, their random quirks. See, each tree tells a story about its life, and when you look at the shapes they take on, you can learn about all they've had to go through to endure and survive. Like this western red cedar here that has a western hemlock growing up here in its canopy. And the hemlock has sent this single root all the way down to the soil here so we can grow and thrive, even though it's way up there off the ground. That's insane. Or this cedar here that fell over at one point, but its branch was able to go into the ground, layered, vegetatively regenerating, and becoming these two new cedars here. It's incredible. Or like this Sitka spruce here that fell over into the canopy of this western hemlock. Its roots are still in the ground, its leader has reiterated, it's still growing, and this hemlock has now molded its branches around it, and they're both living together, cradled, intermeshed with one another. It's incredible. Or check out this gnarly, twisty cedar that's been shaped by the wind, molded with these crazy branches that provide a wind bluff so that all these trees back here can grow big and strong. Or check out this Sitka spruce with its really tall, skinny trunk and its kind of awkwardly robust root structure here that grew on top of a fallen dead log here, the nurse log, because it gave it opportunity to grow above the forest floor. Or this crazy western hemlock here that at one point this branch broke and they had a leader reiterate. So now we have three or four different leaders coming off the same tree, going down to the same root network. It's all the same tree. It's wild. Or check out this adorable little western red cedar given him to go in this nurse log. Or the way this western hemlock here germinated on top of this old stump and then is kind of bent around to curve up towards the sunlight. Or check out this wild trident-like cedar here that has all these different platforms for different ferns and mosses and epiphytes to grow and survive. Or check out these short pines here with their fluffy little tops and the way the wind is scoured off the branches on the leeward side. That's wild. Or like this western red cedar whose leader snapped off and the upper branches had to reiterate to become new leaders of the tree. See, every tree has a story to tell, and some of these stories are ones of more resilience than others, but each is just as inspiring. When faced with a hardship or disturbance or uncomfortable situation, these trees all chose to keep on growing, to adapt and mold with the discomfort, to work with those forces and let it shape them into the unique tree that they are, and each one is gorgeous in its own way. Just as moss grows on rocks, life doesn't exist without both the hard and soft. In fact, you can't have one without the other. It's the yin and yang of life. You know, if you didn't know what rough surfaces were, you wouldn't know what smooth ones felt like. You wouldn't know hot without the cold, easy without the hard, comfort without discomfort. Opposites are the very foundation of our existence, and if we can learn anything from these trees, these forests, the outdoor world, and that which we deem nature as a whole, it's that these experiences shape each and every one of us and make each of us more unique, more beautiful in our own individual ways. So instead of letting our attachments to how we think things should be or what we're doing or how our lives compare to others create discomfort and turmoil in our lives, let's take a cue from nature here and embrace things for as they are, embrace ourselves for who we are. And to whoever needs to hear this, there is no need to feel shame or embarrassment for any of the hardships of life or anything that you've gone through or anything that you're currently going through. These experiences may be incredibly difficult, but I promise you that you are more resilient than you think you are and that you will grow stronger through all of this. And when all is said and done, you might have more twists and turns and bent branches than the other trees around you, but you will be absolutely gorgeous just the way that you are. That's the poetic beauty of nature's resilience. And as a part of nature, it's something I think we all should embrace and be proud of because it's what makes everything, everyone, all of this so dang pretty.